Have you ever noticed how someone can say one simple sentence and suddenly you feel guilty? Like you did something wrong even though you know you didn't. You're not imagining it. You're not overly sensitive. You're not weak. You're dealing with manipulation, the quiet, subtle kind that most people never even recognize. And here's the part nobody really talks about. Manipulators don't necessarily target the strongest people or the weakest people. They go after the predictable ones, the people who react quickly, who over-explain themselves, who try to avoid conflict, who constantly want to keep the peace. And if you're honest with yourself, you've probably done some of that before. Meanwhile, there are people out there who almost never fall for these tactics. People who stay calm, steady, and centered no matter what someone tries to pull on them. And once you understand the difference between how easily manipulated people respond and how grounded people keep their composure, you'll begin to see exactly why certain individuals keep getting inside your head. And trust me, if you stop paying attention now, you'll miss the specific psychological behaviors that protect your confidence, your boundaries, and your peace of mind. Let's take a closer look at them. The first thing they do is simple but powerful. They don't rush to fill silence. Most people don't realize this, but one of the easiest ways manipulators gain psychological leverage is through silence. When a pause appears in a conversation, you start to feel pressure. Your mind dislikes empty space, so you begin talking more and more just to fill the gap, and that's usually the moment when you reveal too much. In psychology, this is sometimes referred to as anxiety-driven oversharing. Your nervous system tries to remove discomfort by filling the silence with words. Manipulators appreciate this because the more you talk, the more information you give them. Your worries, your insecurities, your emotional triggers, your weak spots. But grounded individuals do the opposite. They use something known as regulated silence, a calm, intentional pause before answering. And here's why it works. When you remain quiet for a moment, the power dynamic begins to shift. The other person starts revealing more about themselves. Their tone changes. Their intentions start showing, and sometimes their story even becomes inconsistent. Silence has a way of encouraging manipulators to expose themselves. So here's a small step you can try. Before responding to anyone who seems pushy or demanding, pause for 3 seconds. Take a slow inhale, then a slow exhale, and only then respond. This tiny habit instantly increases your sense of psychological control and prevents you from reacting automatically. Another behavior grounded people practice is that they don't over-explain themselves. Many people don't notice this, but over-explaining is often a clear signal that someone can be influenced easily. You say no, but then you attach 10 additional reasons. You apologize even when you didn't actually do anything wrong. You try to make people understand you even when they never intended to understand in the first place. Manipulators benefit from this because the more you explain, the more opportunities they have to twist your words, question your reasoning, or push you into defending yourself unnecessarily. Psychologists sometimes refer to this as fawn behavior. It's when your mind attempts to avoid conflict by pleasing others so you won't be rejected, judged, or disliked. But here's the difference. Strong, self-grounded individuals don't participate in that pattern. People who are difficult to manipulate don't constantly justify themselves. They don't break into long explanations. They don't offer manipulators extra information that could later be used against them. Instead, they rely on something called clear boundary statements, short, direct, and stable responses. No, I can't. That doesn't work for me. I'm not available. No guilt, no lengthy paragraphs, and no negotiations about their self-respect. And interestingly, when someone responds that way, manipulators often become frustrated because without additional details, there's nothing they can attack or challenge. So try practicing a simple habit. Say one clear sentence and then stop talking. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, But that discomfort is simply your old conditioning breaking apart. And that shift is important because another behavior reveals a trick that manipulators rely on heavily. People who are hard to manipulate also avoid reacting emotionally in the moment. This is something many people need to hear. Manipulators depend on quick emotional reactions. If they can make you feel angry quickly, confused quickly, or guilty quickly, they can often control the entire conversation. Emotional reactions are predictable, and predictable reactions are easier to influence. That's why manipulators often create urgency. They say things like, "We need to solve this right now," or "Why are you taking so long to answer?" or "Just tell me immediately." Their goal is to push you into a state where you feel pressured and cornered, so you react before thinking things through. In psychology, this is often called an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain takes over while your logical thinking temporarily shuts down. And when that happens, you might say things you wouldn't normally say if you were calm. However, emotionally grounded individuals interrupt that pattern. They don't suppress their feelings, but they slow down their reactions. They pause. They breathe. They allow their logical mind a moment to return online. Sometimes 2 or 3 seconds is enough, and once you stay calm, the manipulator loses their advantage. They can't push your buttons if those buttons don't respond immediately. A helpful response in those situations is something simple like, "Let me think about that," or "I'll get back to you." Saying it calmly and confidently breaks the pressure cycle almost instantly. Another difference is that grounded people don't chase others emotionally. Instead, they choose carefully who they allow into their lives. Something many people overlook is that manipulators often try to control connection itself. They may give attention and warmth, then suddenly withdraw it. They pull away just enough to make you chase them. They make you wonder what you did wrong, even when nothing actually happened. Suddenly you're trying to repair the relationship, trying to prove yourself, trying to win back the version of them that once felt warm and supportive. In psychology, this pattern is known as intermittent reinforcement. It's actually the same principle used in gambling machines. Unpredictable rewards create powerful emotional attachment, and manipulators sometimes use it on people who fear losing connection. But people who cannot easily be manipulated recognize the pattern. They don't chase, they don't beg, they don't adjust their self-worth based on someone else's inconsistent behavior. They usually operate from something called secure attachment. That means they believe that if someone pulls away, they will still be okay. Instead of asking, "What did I do wrong?" they ask a different question. Is this person actually good for my peace? That shift in perspective changes everything. Once you stop chasing people who treat you like an option, manipulators lose most of their leverage. So when someone pulls away to gain control, resist the urge to run after them. Pause and observe. Ask yourself honestly whether the relationship is adding energy to your life or quietly draining it. Your answer will reveal more than you expect. Another powerful behavior involves trusting patterns instead of promises. Many people naturally want to believe what they hear. A heartfelt apology, a convincing explanation, or a promise that things will improve. Manipulators understand this very well, which is why they often say exactly the right words at exactly the right moment, especially right after they've done something wrong. They apologize beautifully. They promise to change. They sound sincere. But eventually the same behavior appears again. Psychology calls this cognitive dissonance. Your mind wants to believe the words even while the behavior keeps proving something different. You begin holding on to the potential of who they might become instead of accepting the reality of who they repeatedly show themselves to be. But grounded individuals approach this differently. They trust consistent behavior over emotional moments. If someone lies once, that's information. If they lie twice, it begins to look like a pattern. If it happens 3 times, it becomes a choice. People who are difficult to manipulate don't remain trapped in the idea that maybe this time things will change. Instead, they ask a clearer question. Is this who they consistently show themselves to be, or is this simply the image they want me to believe? That distinction protects their clarity. Finally, strong individuals protect their energy without feeling guilty about it. Something many people overlook is that manipulation doesn't always appear as open hostility. Sometimes it looks like constant emotional draining, endless venting, endless problems, constant chaos, and emotional weight that somehow becomes your responsibility to carry. Because you're a caring person, you try to help, you listen, you comfort, you offer advice, you try to fix things. But slowly, your energy begins to disappear. Psychologists refer to this as emotional labor, taking on emotional burdens that were never yours to hold. Manipulators sometimes rely on this dynamic because when your energy is depleted, your decision-making becomes weaker. You become easier to influence simply because you're exhausted. But grounded people recognize this pattern earlier. They understand that being supportive does not mean sacrificing their own mental stability. They set limits around how much emotional responsibility they accept from others. They listen when they can, but they also step back when necessary. They understand that protecting their own peace is not selfish, it's essential. And the moment you begin honoring your own energy the same way you protect your time or your money, the quiet control manipulators once had over you begins to disappear. Your emotional energy is a limited resource, and once it runs out, your patience begins to collapse. Your boundaries slowly weaken, and your clarity fades away. That's why grounded people guard their energy the same way athletes protect their physical strength. They understand that energy is not endless. If a conversation starts to feel draining, they calmly end it. If someone constantly brings confusion or chaos into their life, they create distance. If someone tries to use guilt, pressure, or emotional weight to influence them, they refuse to absorb it. This isn't cold behavior, and it certainly isn't selfish. It's psychological self-respect. It's the understanding that protecting your peace is just as important as protecting your time or your health. So here's a simple thing you can begin doing. Pay close attention to how you feel after spending time with someone. If you walk away feeling lighter, calmer, or more encouraged, that's connection. But if you leave feeling heavy, exhausted, or mentally drained, that's not connection at all. That's emotional extraction, and you're going to want that awareness before the next behavior, because the final one reveals a psychological tool that manipulators truly dislike. It's something powerful that most people underestimate completely. The 7th behavior is that they use silence for clarity rather than control. Many people overlook this entirely. Silence is not simply the absence of talking. Silence is information. It reveals things people don't intend to reveal. And manipulators know that most individuals feel uncomfortable with silence. When a pause appears, anxiety rises. You suddenly feel the urge to explain yourself, defend yourself, or fill the empty space just so the moment doesn't feel awkward. And that's exactly when you reveal the most about yourself. In psychology, this reaction is often connected to social anxiety conditioning. Your brain has learned to interpret silence as something negative. It thinks, if I don't fill this silence, something must be wrong. But the truth is, nothing is wrong at all. You are simply conditioned to believe that silence must always be filled. Strong individuals, the ones who are difficult to manipulate, treat silence differently. Instead of avoiding it, they use it intentionally. They treat it as a diagnostic tool, a moment of stillness that helps them observe someone's real intentions more clearly. When silence appears, they don't panic. They pause and watch. If the other person suddenly becomes irritated or angry, that reaction reveals something. If they grow visibly uncomfortable, it often means they were trying to control the interaction. And if they begin explaining themselves or talking excessively, you suddenly gain valuable insight. Silence often exposes emotional maturity faster than long conversations ever could. People who are grounded understand this very well. They don't rush to react. They pause, observe carefully, and allow the truth to surface naturally. That small delay changes the entire dynamic of the interaction. So here's a practical step you can use. The next time a conversation feels tense, confusing, or slightly manipulative, allow a few seconds of silence. Let the moment breathe instead of rushing to fill it. Watch what unfolds. People tend to reveal their real character when your reactions stop being predictable. And the moment you begin mastering this habit, something interesting happens. You slowly become someone manipulators prefer to avoid. They can't read you easily, they can't rush you into reactions, and they can't guide the conversation in the direction they want. Now you understand the 7 quiet behaviors that make someone much harder to manipulate. These are the habits that protect your confidence, reinforce your boundaries, and preserve your peace of mind. But learning how to avoid manipulation is only part of the journey. Once you stop allowing people to drain your energy, the next step is building habits that make your life feel calmer, lighter, and easier to manage every day. If you want to build simple daily routines that strengthen your mental resilience and make your day flow more smoothly without constant effort, watch the video connected here. It explores 8 small Japanese habits that quietly reshape the way you think, move through your day, and experience life. Which of these behaviors are you planning to practice first? Share it in the comments. And if you enjoy simple psychology insights and practical self-improvement ideas like these, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next video.